Hi there. I am Cassandra Cannon. I am a licensed clinical psychologist. I am an EMDRIA approved consultant, as well as an APA approved sponsor to provide continuing education. And of course, behind me is Motley Crue, who is everyone's MVP. Today, I wanted to talk about a very common mistake that we might make as EMDR clinicians and setting up the narrative. You and your client have completed the initial interview. You've clustered your client's trauma into different themes. You've then identified the specific targets in each cluster of trauma. And you and your client have decided together on which cluster to begin with first. And most likely it's going to be whatever cluster represents what brought your client in to see you. And within that cluster, you have those different targets that you've identified, and you've sequenced your targets in the right order so that your client can experience the most symptom relief. And I tend to choose the symptom informed model, which is the earliest or first trauma of that cluster, then the worst, then the most recent, and then I have them scan their memory and see if there's any other intense traumas that didn't really get addressed through generalization of completing those other traumas. Then I'll process those. And then we do present triggers and then future templates. Now, let's say you are in the middle of a target. You closed out the target from last session. Your client comes in for another session. And here's where the sticky part comes. Your client starts to bring in emergencies of the week. And there's something that happened during the week or that day that's really activating them. And they're frustrated or angry or any number of things. You can feel that urge and that temptation to then start jumping to other targets or even targets outside of the cluster to address the emergency of the week. Now, of course, every once in a while, we all have emergencies of the week, and maybe we just need to spend the session just with our client, and so they can just have that experience of having someone just be with them in that experience. The struggle is when it starts to become a pattern. And there could be a number of reasons why it's a pattern. One could be they may not be fully ready for EMDR treatment yet, meaning they don't have access or they don't have enough tools to help them calm and ground in between sessions. And so you may need to go back to preparation and help them with that. Because ultimately, I try to kind of listen for the first few minutes. Then I'll often try to grab a thread of like the main meat of it and say that really sounds like it connects to, and then I'll identify a target or a cluster. And if it's in the cluster we're working on, and hopefully it connects to the target we're working on, then I'll say, oh, we gotta keep going because if we address this, these emergencies or these triggers will be happening much less. If it's in a different cluster, then I'll say, can we bookmark this? I'm going to write this down as a present trigger or a recent event. It'll be more likely a recent event. And we'll get after it when we get to this cluster, and this cluster might be next. That often helps my clients feel like they've been heard and validated, and we're not ignoring it, but we have a plan for it, and we don't want to deviate from the current plan. And the reason that is if you have too many targets open, then your clients are going to stop feeling relief because you've started desensitization in this target, and then this target, and then this target, and you want to finish the target before you move to a new one. Now, I am guilty at times. I will toggle between targets on occasion, but I'll always remind my clients, we don't want to forget about this one. Ideally, we want to complete targets. And a time I might toggle between targets or clusters might be if there's a new emergency, like a genuine emergency coming up, like something out of the client's control, or like the loss of a loved one, or something at work has really changed, and that actually really is something that we need to address first. Then we'll jump to that, and then we'll go back to what we were working on. So be sure to be notating in your notes, your master treatment plans, why you may have decided to put a pause on a particular cluster that you're working on. But please resist that urge to have multiple targets open. It's actually not ideal for your client and their experience in symptom resolution. Sometimes clients come in with emergencies and it's consistent because maybe the EMDR experience is a little too intense. And if that's the case, then again, go back to preparation, or don't forget that there are tools that you use that can help decrease the intensity of those EMDR targets. Don't forget that you can do shorter sets. There are ways you can distance them from the visual or the memory. So don't forget that you can make some changes in how you are applying the standard protocol to make it so that your client isn't dreading your sessions. So those typically are the main reasons why someone's coming in with an emergency of the week. Either they need more preparation, and so that's our role, is to help, or they are avoiding, either consciously or unconsciously, actually getting back to the EMDR targeting. Or there may be just a new genuine issue that they may just really need you to be with them. And they may need just the classic psychotherapy of experience, having someone be with them where they're being really validated. So again, really try to avoid having multiple targets open. Please try to avoid cluster jumping. If you do, make sure that there is a reason why you're doing that. And I encourage that you then have it documented as to why you're doing that, the decision making around. Also, it's important to let you know that I have a continuing education course that walks you all through target selection and sequencing and how that fits into your overall master treatment plan. And you can find that in the link or first comment of this YouTube video. Thanks for watching.